Hello and welcome to Talking Honey. I'm your host, Shelly Horton, and with me are relationship expert John Aiken.
Greetings, everybody.
Hello. 9Honey columnist Maria Thattil.
Hello.
And 2GB breakfast host Ben Fordham.
Hello all, how are we?
Oh, I'm excited.
Well, we have a viewer, Julie, who wrote to us with a dilemma. She says, I work for a big organisation. During COVID, we all got to work from home. My productivity was up. I didn't have to commute and I managed to have more work-life balance with the kids. But now my boss is demanding that we come back into the office. It's giving me anxiety. If my performance is up, why is going into the office necessary? Maria, I'm going to go to you because you did work in HR.
Yeah.
What do you think about this?
Well, I worked in HR when the pandemic first kicked in, and I can tell you it forced a lot of dinosaurs to just change the way they work. And they had to think differently, do things differently, but also in a way where you're maximising your digital capacity, but it's also relying a lot on trust and responsibility. But we know it works. Like research tells us productivity's up, morale's up, people love it. So I would say to Julie, if your boss is insisting on FaceTime at the desk when your job doesn't really require it, I think you might have a bit of a culture problem. And I would say, you know, take it to your boss, take it to the organisation, but if they're not flexible, you know, I think you will find somewhere that would be open to you, you know, finding a job that works remotely for you so you can fit it in with your life. We know it works.
Ben, you disagree, don't you?
Oh, well...
I saw your face.
No, I just know that if the job's in the office, then that's where the job is, right? So
What's the job?
But is it...
Well,
but what's the job?
The job, you know, you know better than me because you've worked for a long time in HR, but it's supply and demand. The job that is being supplied is in the office. So, and if you want to fulfil that supply issue and take up that job, then it's in the office, because according to the lady who's reached out to us on the message, the job is now in the office. During COVID, it was at home.
You think that
but it's now in the office.
Was a luxury, and that was a silver lining?
No, it's not about a luxury.
So
No. It's just that, as Maria said, if you want to find a job to work at home, Maria was saying you might have to find another job.
But I think it...
Can't you be a flexible workplace?
You can be a flexible workplace. And I think with the technology that we have, how did we just get through the last 2 years? People can do jobs remotely and digitally. And if that cuts down commute times and enables people to, one, fulfil, you know, personal hobbies or caring for their kids, and they're still delivering the work and they're productive, it can be done. A lot of people just can't get around not being able to see folks at the desk in that old way of working. It's outdated.
Ooh.
It's outdated.
John, I've basically run my own business from home for 7 years now, I think, which I think has actually made me unemployable, because if someone asked me to come back into an office 5 days a week, I couldn't do it. I just, and it actually fills me with dread. So is it just that people don't like change, that they've been used to working from home during COVID, or is it like Maria said, that there's dinosaurs out there and we need to move forward?
Well, I think it puts people in a position where they're trying different things now. They're at home, they've got their technology, so they're able to do a number of things that they haven't had to do before. So I think it develops their skill base, but at the same time, there might be parts of their job where they've got to go back to the workplace. So the person that's written into us, I mean, I think I would sit down with the boss and say, look, I'm very productive at home. I realise you're wanting me to be at work. Where's the compromise here? Maybe we can share this because, you know, I'm on fire at home at the moment.
Well, I have less chats than when I'm in the office. I mean, the number of times I come into 9Honey and I don't actually get any work done because I'm chatting to everyone, I'm very productive at home.
And I would imagine now with the climate and with the pandemic that people are a bit more, particularly the bosses, are a bit more open to that.
I mean, keep in mind, it's a niche market we're talking about here, right? Of jobs that are able to be done at all time from home. There's a heap of people...
Not at all times.
Well, but I mean, if you're working in hospitality, if you're working on the front line of the people who really sacrifice the most during this period where other people are working from home, you don't have a choice. You've got to be in there. You've got to be in the hospital. You've got to be driving the vehicles. You've got to be in there. I don't know.
Does that
but
make
sense? That's a section of the people who are watching right now. At the moment, we've got people who've just worked night shift. and they're coming off night shift because they've worked in a hospital. They don't have a choice.
Yeah.
They've got to go to work. And I can tell you that there is a dynamic that happens in an office space. Maybe you're more inclined to engage in a bit of gossip, but there's also those conversations that happen. For example, my business is running a radio show. If every producer on my radio show said, I want to work from home, which they can, the job can be done from home, that would leave me as a very lonely host in the studio.
Yeah.
And it means that I've got all these people connected on technology, on phone lines, whereas every morning we have this dynamic in the office, and when a big story breaks, I want people there coming into the studio and saying, this is what's happened, this is who we've tracked down. All those things matter to me as someone who decides
I
employment.
don't think you can say that office workers are niche and then say use your office as a radio presenter as an example, because that's kind of apples and oranges.
No, I get what you're saying. I think we're talking about mostly white-collar workers here, and I do agree with you, Ben. I think that, you know, there are some situations that do call for people being together. I don't know whether this person who's written in is talking about wanting to be home all the time, but I think a little bit of give and take for most jobs, you know, you could be in the office some days, so you get that balance, but also affording them a little bit of time to juggle with their life.
What I'd also say is, just coming off the back of Ben, is that there is a lot of benefits when you are in a workplace, mixing, mingling, socialising, developing relationships which can lift you and your health and well-being. And so you don't want to completely rule that out.
No.
Socialising is very important for each
Maria,
person.
you're going to love this. I did a little bit of research. And the Australian Government Productivity Report from 2021 says work from home policies can promote a more gender-balanced workforce since women still carry most of the responsibility for raising children and are also more likely than men to care for others. So the option to work from home may actually increase their access to employment. So is this also a gender issue?
Well, based on when I was working and doing research, I was working on a lot of diversity strategies when I worked for the Victorian government. And one of the things that we found was when you have flexible and remote working policies, it actually is a lot better for people who do fall pregnant, people who do have kids. And I'm going to use that language just because, you know, women are disproportionately affected, but this also affects, you know, there are going to be transgender men who are watching this, or non-binary folk watching this, and it affects them too. So just anyone who has kids, when you have those flexible remote working policies, it just allows them to return to work. It gives them, and not just return to work, to be developed in their career so they can juggle it with their caring and domestic duties as well. So research tells us it does help them. It does.
Ben, if Julie is going to have to negotiate with her boss, you're a good negotiator. How should she approach it?
Well, I think she's just got to say that this means so much to me that I'm willing to go and find another job. Does it mean so much to you that you're willing to find another employee? And that comes down to the crunch of the matter. If Julie's so important to her boss should then recognise, all right, well, I can get by with Julie working from home. If it's so important to Julie's boss that he needs bodies in the office, then it looks like the boss will probably win out and she looks for another job. I'd just say as well, just keep in mind that if we're all going to work from home, if everyone's going to work from home, then corporations are going to find a way of going, all right, well, I don't really need you on the books anymore. I'll find someone in another part of the world who can do your job for half of the price or a third of the price.
Couldn't distree more.
Well, I mean,
Couldn't disagree more.
It's a globalised world, it's happening.
Well, I mean, there you go. It is a globalised market, so that is what's happening.
But you're saying it's going to be cheaper
I'm just
labour
saying,
because it's
well,
overseas?
that's what companies do. Companies increasingly have a look at what's happened with call centres. Once upon a time, we had call centres in Australia. Then we realised we can get people for a third of the price. So if you're not there in the office, just keep in the back of your mind that bosses and corporations will then weigh up. Well, if we can be working from home from Sydney, can I have someone working from home in Singapore, in Shanghai, which is good for those people in another part of the world. They get a job, but you may not have a job here.
But it's also good because it increases global opportunity for you too. So if there are places that are considering that, then you sitting home at Melbourne might have employment prospects somewhere else in the country or somewhere else all over the world. So there's the flip side to the coin. I agree with you. I do agree.
John, I want to bring you in and get your psych mind on this, because a lot of people say that working from home has reduced their anxiety and depression. For me, my perimenopausal symptoms have been quite horrific, so I can just strip off if I have a hot flush. Can't do that in an office. No. But
the benefits.
Are there actually some medical and psychological reasons for the advantages of working from home?
Well, I think it depends on how it sits with you as a person. You know, isolation for long periods is not great for us.
Right.
So if you are at home and you're not connecting with people, you're not getting out of the house, you know, it can start to become very much a routine that gets you into a spiral. So I would just say that, you know, if you're going to work from home entirely, I would be adding into that gym, getting out and catching up for coffee with friends, you know, ringing people at the workplace and connecting, having, you know, dinners out in the weekend. So you've got routines that get you out of that house, because I don't think it's ideal for your mental health if you were just like a hermit inside,
Don't want to be
in front of
isolated.
a screen 7 days a
It's
week.
great for Ugg boot sales.
It is indeed.
It's great for the sale of Ugg boots.
Julie, look, I don't know if we totally gave you an answer there, but all I can say is good luck with your negotiations or good luck with your new job. I hope we helped. You can see more segments like this at 9honey.com.au, or if you have a question for the panel, please email us 9honey@9.com.au.